Why the Sabbath? Why? Many of us, though we have been Adventists for I don't know how long, we might have a problem as to understanding why the Sabbath. Besides the fact that Exodus 28 says, remember the Sabbath day. But I pray that as we continue with our study for tonight, we appreciate more that lies within the embrace of the Sabbath. Now the verse says that those who do not love do not know God, because God is love. So if God is love, all his dealings with man is motivated by love. And therefore, in every act of God, in every word of God, we must feel loved and see love. So as we are looking at the Sabbath, where do we see all this character of God? Many years ago, there once was an international pie that was hung in the sky. Coming out of mechanization and industrialization, people rarely had time to rest, because that period it was based on manual labor, to a point where people were laboring through and through without rest. But with the introduction of computers and the robots, there was so much excitement across the world, because as these were introduced into the world, people thought that the work that would take long hours to be done by a single man, that would then be computerized and give that man more free time to themselves. But lo and behold, 2022, this infatuation, this excitement still remains a pie in the sky, because this aspect of rest that we anticipated to accrue as a result of computerization and this technical development, I want to believe, and I want to also believe that you will agree with me, that this still remains a pipe dream for many. You look at more and better quality time with family, despite the existence of advanced technology. I'm sure a lot of us here will agree that the more we are getting advanced, the less time man is having with and for his family. Now, reality on the ground, friends, is that as we are developing, where we are getting technology doing things faster for us than it used to do for our grandparents, reality on the ground is that people are worse off now than they were then. Yes, we might be better off financially, we might be better off academically, intellectually, but when it comes to things that matter in life, we are worse off. Just to give you a few pointers, I was just talking to my elder just now, saying that the day has been long. You realize that people are running out of time each day, wishing that they had a 36-hour day. And man has developed technology to help us do things faster. But the faster that things are being done, it tends to bring a slowness into how we are doing things. That's why a lot of us tomorrow, come Friday, a lot of us will be saying Friday is such a short day. Despite you now having a microwave that you can prepare your meals and cook things faster. Despite that, you now have mixers where you can do things faster than they would squeeze juices then. We are running out of time each day. Now, if there is a generation that is deprived of quality time, it is this generation. I used to enjoy back then when we were growing up, where we would sit in a dimly lit room where there is a little flame from the fireplace flickering. That would be our light. But we'll be seated there talking and laughing with our grandparents, with our other cousins, sitting to as late as 11 p.m. just enjoying each other's company. Despite the fact that the following morning you were expected to wake up at 3 or 4 to go to the fields. We had this quality time where we would, as a family, one Sunday walk to the communal park and just enjoy seated there on the lawn or on the green grass, which was mistaken for a lawn. Are we there, my friends? And not eating the fancy stuff that we are eating today, just sharing as brothers, sisters, or even with our parents, a packet of maput with some frizzy. It was good. But despite all that, the families of today, they are having less and less time for each other. Actually, we've got people even amongst us who are lonely amongst their families. You find people to prove, if you look at your statistics, where we are looking at suicide rates, you will be shocked that you are seated next to your son, to your child. When tomorrow you wake up, you realize they've committed suicide. What was going through their minds, it even shocks you. Lonely amongst our brothers and sisters. We are so lonely, even though my partner, my spouse is right by my side there. She is snoring whilst I am really struggling to balance things in my mind. Things are not well. I have these suicidal tendencies. I have these problems. But she is there and I still feel lonely. Many a time, sometimes we find solace and comfort from people at work where we confide to them what challenges I am going through. And yet at home, I have a family. You see, it is this generation that whilst we are in the same house, we do not have that time to converse with one another, one-on-one. But we find the time when that one is in their bedroom, that one in their bedroom, the children in their space, do whatever. We find it to just communicate via WhatsApp. Physically, it's limited. So these developments, in as much as they're supposed to bring that joy, that peace into our lives, it has turned out that we are experiencing less and less of those. Ask yourself, how many times you have visited your child at school just to watch them play their particular sport during sports day? The fathers, especially west of there, these are the worst culprits, because from grade 1 to grade 12, they are so busy running around selling deals so that that child can get the best in life. And yet the child is not looking for that best. He is yearning for his presence, but he's not there. Trying to buy the affections of our children through buying them expensive gifts every birthday. You see, because of this failure as a family to be united through basic and simple things, humanity is finding itself very restless. And because we are this much restless, we are so anxious, we are so depressed, we have all these things that are going on around us, in us, where we are failing to find the answers, or where we are failing to find a shoulder to cry on. And hence you go to your hospitals, you find that there is a sharp rise in NCDs. And these NCDs are a direct result of our lifestyles. So, with this in mind, friends, we need desperately to slow down a little and connect with each other. We desperately, like a drowning man, we desperately need to slow down and get in touch with my child. I need to get in touch with my spouse. But if things are let to be as is, this will still remain a pipe dream even for the generations to come until Christ comes. But lo and behold, friends, for God so loved the world. Are we there, my friends? So he says, John 10:10, the thief does not come except to steal and to kill and destroy. But Jesus then says, I have come so that they may have life and may have it more abundantly. And which thief is he referring to? The thief that Christ is referring to is talking about the devil. He came to steal, to kill, and to destroy. If you can look back when you were in courtship, the peace, the unified thinking, the affections, the passion, that was the binding force in your affair. And the hope and the expectations that we had on your wedding day. And then 5 years, 10 years down the line, all that has left you and you are so frustrated. It is not that you threw all those things away. Someone came in and destroyed all that. Is the thief. When you were so excited and happy as you were cradling your firstborn child, but now that he is 17, you do not really want him close to you because he or she is a problem. The problem why you are diabetic or that you have a BP, it is a result of your relationship with your child. What has happened is much changed from that little child that you were so loving and glowing over as they were growing. Nothing has changed. Besides that, we've allowed a thief to come through our families. So he says the thief comes to steal, to destroy, and to kill. But he says he has come that we may have life and have it in abundance. How does he propose to do this? Matthew 11:28 and 29, Christ says, come to me, all you who are troubled and weighted down with care, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke on you and become like me, for I am gentle and without pride, and you will have rest for your souls. A lot of us, we have this mistaken notion that when we come to Christ, it should be comfort. We should experience an effortless life. But look what he says. You are troubled and you are weighted. Therefore come to him and he will give you rest. But look at verse 29. In 28 he says he is going to give you rest. 29 he says, take my yoke. The moment we are talking of a yoke, we are talking of labor. Are we there, my friends? Because the yoke is that instrument that you use to tie together two oxen or two donkeys or two whatever animals that you are using to plow when you are using an ox or animal-drawn plow. Are we still together, friends? So Christ says, in this world you have been troubled and weighted, and I know that you need rest. The rest that he offers is come and take my yoke. In other words, Christ is saying, on this yoke, on one side, Christ is yoked, and then you are yoked on the other side. And therefore, as you are laboring, you are pulling the same weight with Christ because he is by your side. So whilst you are yoked together with Christ, thinking that you are pulling the same weight with him, he actually then bears all the burden. All he desires is that you are close and next to him. Now, whilst men are troubled and anxious and worried about the cares of this life, how we have tried to solve that problem is, man has tended to desire and to exert more effort in acquiring more, thinking that the more I acquire something, the less of cares and worries I will have in life. But it has been proven over and over that the more people have, the more worried and anxious they become. You can and me can afford to go out and walk into the streets back home, but the billionaire will never. They are very suspicious of anyone, even the shadows that they will be meeting across the streets. Why? Because they think that each time that I want to greet them, I am after their money. So it's not about acquiring more. The more learned you become and you get your 4 or 5 doctorates, the closer I want to get to you on Sabbath, you begin to think that he wants to at least feel important by association. So the more we acquire things, the more troubled and care-filled we become. But in that instance, Christ is saying, as much as you are troubled, come unto me, and I will give you rest. That rest, friends, we only get to experience it by coming to Christ in 2 ways. The first way is the daily, coming to him daily, and then coming to him weekly. Let's just quickly look at how daily we can experience the comfort and the peace that surpasses understanding. He says, John chapter 6, verse 57, as the living Father has sent me, and I live by the Father, so also the one who eats me shall live by me. In other words, Christ is saying he daily depended on God. Before making any decision, Christ consulted with his Father. So, if you read the Gospels, Christ invested a lot of time communicating with his Father. The Bible would say that early in the morning, Christ would arise and leave the comforts of home and be found either in one garden or the other or up the mountain praying. Christ would be found late at night alone in some secluded place praying. Though he was God, he invested more time in prayer than we who are in need of prayer invest in our prayer life. It is this same Christ, before he chose his 12 disciples, he had a session of an all-night prayer alone. When he was surrounded by these crowds and it seemed like all was so crowding upon him, he would leave the crowd and be alone in prayer. So each time that Christ was facing something in his life, he went to God. And then a lot of us, when we are troubled, when we are anxious, instead of going to God, we want to go to our friends. We want to confide in our friends. We have been given very bad advice from our parents relating to our marriages. That's why we are in this vicious cycle of unhappiness, of these marriages that people are enduring instead of enjoying. Because the advice seems like it is being cut from the same piece of cloth. He says in Peter, "For to this you were called, because Christ also suffered for you, leaving you an example that you should follow in his footsteps." So we are supposed to be following in the footsteps of Christ. 1 Peter 1:7, he says, "By casting all your cares on him because he cares for you." Many people think that there are certain issues that they may not disclose to God. We want him to bless our food. God bless our food, yes. I want to pass at school, and once that is happens, it's over. But there are those troubles that are weighing us down. There are those addictions that you do not want even your spouse to know of. We keep those to ourselves, lest I be embarrassed. And even worse, we keep those from Christ, thinking that if I am to pray about this, what will God think of me? A lot of us, we've got these serious habits. Masturbation. You know you are killing yourself, but we can't get the courage to kneel down and say, "God help me." Why? Because we think this is too minor for God to handle. God can deal with your addiction to pornography only if you cast that care upon him. So, if you look at the example that Christ gave unto us, he would every day in the morning speak with his Father. Before making important decisions, speak with his Father. When troubled and tribulation, everything, he was always consulting with his Father. So, what it entails, friends, is if you desire to enjoy the peace and the comfort that Christ is offering when he says, "Come unto me," we need to learn to unreservedly approach him every day of our lives with our cares. You do not want to tell him about your boss because you think somehow you will improve performance at work and resolve that issue by performance-based. It's not performance-based. It needs Christ. You have a teacher who is a thorn to you. Never mind how much you try to please the teacher. You do your homeworks, you do your assignments, but every day they are on your case. You have tried to be a good boy or girl to them and it is failing. It does not need your effort. It needs you to bring your care to him and say, "Teacher, God, can you deal with that individual?" It can be a neighbor, it can be a relative. It does not need you. It needs you to unreservedly surrender to Christ. So daily, this must be our exercise. So how about the weekly experience? If you read Genesis chapter 1, verses 31 through to chapter 2, verses 3, the Bible says, "God saw all that he had made, and it was very good. There was evening and there was morning, the sixth day." Chapter 2, verse 1. "And the heavens and the earth were finished, and all the host of them." Verse 2. Now, only if reading up to that point, verse 1, you will then quickly realize that the Bible here is saying, "And the heavens and the earth were finished." Are we there, my friends? When were they finished? "And there was evening and there was morning, the sixth day." Are we there, my friends? So, creation of the things that we normally associate with creation were finished creating in how many days? 6 days. So, God would have ended there because everything was there. Are we there, my friends? But because this circle here is not complete, there is that small portion there that is a gap which needs to be filled. So it is this small gap here that takes us to verse 2. And on the seventh day, God finished his work which he had made, and he rested on the seventh day from all his work which he had made. And God blessed the seventh day and hallowed it, because that in it he rested from all his work which God had made. Are we still together, my friends? Everything that humanity needed was created from day 1 to day 5 for your survival. And then in day 6, God created man. See so? And he says, Genesis 1, and behold, it was very good. So had it ended there would be a missing link. And if there is a missing link, if you have a scratch on your CD, DVD, it will not play. Are we there, my friends? So the time would have not moved because the time that the hour clock or the whatever would have come to a point where it will fail to cover this portion, because this is just 6 days. There is some element that is missing. And then God says, verses 2 and 3, he then created the seventh day. And in the seventh day, nothing that seems significant to humanity was made or created. And yet, that's the most significant thing that God did for you and me. Because in the seventh day, he rested. Are we still together, my friends? God created the seventh day so that he could rest. Are we together, my friends? I do not understand. Creating a day so that he just simply blesses the day and makes it holy, and creation is then said to have been complete, finished, by resting and making it holy. Honestly, why? If you look at the original word for Sabbath, in its original Greek language, it simply means rest. Are we there, my friends? Rest. So what we are encountering, Genesis chapter 2, verses 1 through 3, we are encountering technically God creating a seventh day where he creates rest. Does it make sense, friends? Day 1 to day 6, there is nothing about rest that is spoken of. And on day 6, everything is okay, done. But because there's an element that is missing, he then goes to day 7. And in day 7, everything had been created in 6 days. And then in day 7, he introduces the aspect of rest. Therefore, the weekly cycle was joined, that small gap, this one. This gap here was then joined in chapter 2 by, it was made complete by rest. Therefore, you will find that this element of rest meant to benefit humanity because God is love. It is the same element which Tina, as wearied men, are fighting against. Man is doing everything in their power to fight against a principle that God gave them for them to be at rest, to be at peace with each other. Allow me, friends, to look at 6 reasons from the Bible as to why God gave us the Sabbath. Exodus 20, verse 9. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all your work. Verse 8 says, remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. Now in verse 9, God is giving you the reason why the Sabbath. So verse 9, he says, I am giving you 6 days to labor and do all your work. But the 7th day, which is the Sabbath day, it is meant for your rest. So this is number 1. God acknowledges acknowledges the human busyness. Humanity is so busy today. If left to ourselves, we will be pressing the self-destruct button. People wake up early morning, 4 o'clock, people are already up. And when they are up at 4, don't think, Okuti, that they will start slowly so that their engine heads are up. The moment their eyes open, they are already in fast forward gear. They want to make sure the children prepare for school. They want to make sure they are ready for work. So it's a rat race in the home. People scurrying all over, trying to make sure things are okay. Are we still together, my friends? From there, they rush to work, and as they are rushing to work with the nightmare that our roads are, people, the adrenaline is already up there, and it's pumping high and everything. And throughout the day, wherever it is that you are laboring, there is no rest. You will find other people. I have seen a lot of friends from my side. They are moving from one office to the other for a meeting with their files, folders held under their arm. The other side is busy holding a pie or a whatever that they are chewing, going to another meeting because they do not have time to sit down and have a proper meal. I have seen lawyers moving from the courts to their office because they are so busy, they can't honestly sit down and have a proper meal. They are busy chewing and eating as they are walking from one assignment to the next. People, we are so busy that I feel sorry for the ladies, especially those that are housewives. In a home where you think everything is spick and span, it's clean, you will find them on their feet from morning till they drop down dead in their bed. They are either dusting this, they are washing that. They are doing the dish, they are doing that. There is never rest for humanity in this world. 6 days we shall labor. But if left to yourself, this engine that is the human heart can only take this much. And therefore God says, do everything that you can in these 6 days, but this engine will not take the 7th day. It needs to be rested. Many years ago, I thought that the white men loved our parents, because I realized that from January, mid-January to late December, our parents would really be laboring. At times, leaving home at 2, because this duty starts at 6 or 4, and they end the duty at 2 p.m. They are laboring without rest 6 days a week. But I forgave them because I felt that in November, towards the end of November, when they give them the 13th check, they then say, we are going for an annual shutdown, where the factories would be closed from end of November to mid-January. I thought, yeah, this white man loves my dad. Only to realize that no, it was not the love of my dad. He loved his machinery more than the men operating the machine. Because they understood that those machines, even though they are inhuman, they are machines, they also needed to be cooled down and shut down. And God is simply saying, because I love you, I know how I made you. You can do everything. You can carry this load. You can carry this child on your back. The other one you are holding. The other one you are holding their hand. And in the meantime, you have got this bag that you are carrying. And you can manage in 6 days. But you cannot go the extra day, the 7th. You need to take a pause. You have got assignments. You see, after work, the elder wants to improve and upgrade themselves. And therefore, if they've closed or finished work at 4, 4:30 or 5, they are rushing to college. They have got a certificate, a diploma, whatever that they want to achieve.
And from there they come home. When they come home, this one needs to be assisted with their homework. That one needs to be assisted with their homework. And the wife has got issues that they need updating on. And after that, it will be 11:30 p.m. He sits behind that table and desk trying to catch up on an assignment, which he then will finish around 1:30, and he just gives himself 2-3 hours of a nap. Men are caught up in this busyness. So God says, boss, I love you. I do not want you to stress. I will allow you to carry every burden, to plow the fields and do everything in 6 days. But the 7th day, I created it for you to rest. You are not being a macho man. You are not supernatural that you can go against the laws ingrained in you by the Creator that need to rest. So reason number 1, never mind how busy your life is. Never mind how overlapping your schedules are. Never mind how late your submissions are. God is saying, after the 6th day, throw everything aside and find rest in me. Reason number 2, Exodus 20 verse 11. For in 6 days Jehovah made heaven and earth, the sea and all that in them is, and rested the 7th day. Wherefore Jehovah blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. Number 2. If we go back to that circle, principle of that circle, there is that missing link. And that missing link, we found that is the rest which is brought by the Sabbath. Are we there, my friends? That is the link that completes the weekly cycle. Are we together, friends? So if we are agreeing that you are counting your years based on that weekly cycle, you are getting to your anniversary because of that weekly cycle. If we break that weekly cycle, you have no birthday to talk of. If you break that weekly cycle, you have no anniversary to talk of. Therefore, friends, if our right of celebrating our birthdays, our right of celebrating our anniversaries is based on our right also to celebrate creation. The weekly cycle is simply the shortest birthday celebrations we can enjoy. God has given you 52 weeks to complete a year. But in His creation, He says all is done in 6 days, and then the 7th completes the cycle. So friends, every Sabbath day, we are acknowledging that this earth did not just come by just like what Charles Darwin taught us in history. It came through the geniusness of a creator God. And to acknowledge that God you created, therefore I know that this earth here needs to celebrate, because in 6 days God did everything, but He blessed and hallowed the 7th day, and therefore I need also to celebrate with God His creation. Because as God was resting on the 7th day Sabbath, He was reflecting on His creative powers. So you have no right to celebrate your birthday if you fail to acknowledge the creation of this world. So your only right of celebrating and baking your birthday cakes and buying expensive clothes and gifts on your birthday, it is based on you having accepted this fact that this earth did not just come from nowhere, it was created. And that creator says, let's celebrate the creation of this world. So, in as much maybe as you may not have the funds to celebrate your birthday, you are not invited to their parties. You feel an outsider. You feel lonely. You feel you do not belong because throughout the year there is no celebration that you are invited to. I want to just assure you, my friend, you have been invited to a weekly celebration by God. Reason number 3. Exodus 31, verses 17. It is, verse 16, God is talking about the Sabbath. And the other verses before this. So verse 17, he then says, it is a sign between me and the children of Israel forever. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, and on the 7th day he rested and was refreshed. Are you still moving with me, friends? Now, I like this portion of refreshing. When you are weary, when you are tired, when you are exhausted, you do not want your child to bother you. You do not want your spouse to even touch you. You just want to be yourself. Are we there, my friends? If you have the means, you want to have that cool, juicy drink that you want to, that is your favorite. And you can take yourself and sit on that couch and then you throw your legs there so that you are in dreamland. Maybe you want to have that ice cream that is your favorite. Maybe you want to actually go out and be in Dubai, be in Malaysia, where you are really enjoying yourself in the cool breeze of the beaches there. Or maybe you may not afford to go out there. You want to go to Durban, to Cape Town, wherever, where you can have, you can just sit there with your feet in the waters of the oceans, etc., feeling the breeze that is flowing and blowing from the oceans there. And after that, when you come back home, you are saying to yourself, I feel refreshed. That's why you take those bubble baths. You are there in your tub. You actually close your eyes. And you allow the aroma from the bubble, the scent from the bubble bath just waft through the air. And you do not want anyone to disturb you. You have had a very tough day at work. And a lot of us, the bubble bath will do the trick. You feel refreshed. Are we there, my friends? But God says, after the Sabbath, after resting on the 7th day Sabbath, Genesis chapter 2 verse 3, he felt refreshed. What was so refreshing about God resting on the Sabbath day? He was looking at Genesis 1, and as he was creating day number 1, he created let there be sun. Wow. And as he visualized that light, God felt, wow, this is good. Are we there, my friends? Day 2, as he was looking at that, day 3, looking at that, day 4, one by one, reviewing his act that he had done throughout the week, God felt refreshed. And I just want to imagine, because God is a very emotional being, I imagine myself, he is closing his eyes and he is just smiling, thinking to himself, wow. So, the bottom line is, as God also was refreshed on the Sabbath, there is no better refreshment for you in your life other than resting with God on the Sabbath. During the week you are on edge. You do not want noise from your children. They are disturbing your thought process. You are so tired. You do not want to hear their stories from school. Who is bothering them? Whatever. You and the children are far apart. Two worlds, actually. You and your spouse, you are only intimate when you are involved in your sexual intimacy. Outside of that, you are worlds apart. But when it comes to the Sabbath, friends, as you rest with God, you really feel refreshed. I do not know how much of refreshment you are looking for. You've got problems with a boyfriend. And you think watching movies will help solve your restlessness issues. No. Talking it over the phone might actually fuel the problem. Are we still together, friends? We feel refreshed as we rest with God on the Sabbath. That's why the Bible then says, as we enjoy this refreshment, He gives us a peace that surpasses all understanding. Because whilst your bills are outstanding, whilst your assignments are outstanding, whilst your children are as wild as they can be, whilst you've got issues with your spouse, all these things are around you. But if you allow yourself that one day in the week that completes your week, you are allowing God to give you something that you yourself will not understand. But as I am singing hymn number 50 on the Sabbath morning, I feel this freshness flowing over me and through me. It is because you have allowed this refreshment to pass over you. Why this refreshment? If I am to have 7 glasses, 7 cups, I pour tea in each cup. And then in one cup, I just pour some sugar. Are we there, my friends? And I tell you, you want tea with sugar? Please take from the 7th cup. But you are very arrogant, you are very adamant that you get cup number 2 or number 3, you will find some sugar. You will fail to find some sugar. You will drink tea without sugar. Are we there, my friends? But God says the 7th day, there is something particular in that day. Number 1, He blessed it, not in day number 1. He made it holy, not in number 2. And therefore, because of these 2 qualities, day number 7 is holy, and God blessed it. Because of those 2 qualities, if you allow yourself to rest alongside God, you get to get the benefits from God rubbing off onto you, and you also get feel refreshed. Number 4. Exodus 20, verse 10. But the 7th day is a Sabbath to the Lord your God. On it you shall not do any work, you or your son or your daughter or your male servant or your female servant or even your cattle or the resident foreigner who is in your gates. Are we still together, my friends? The first 6 days of the week, we are not equals in our home. I am me, I'm the father of this home. Are we there, my friend? You are the wife, you are the mother, the children. Our roles are very clear and distinct. I am shouting orders and things must be done. And in some other homes, these children, when they see their father or mother come in, it's like a lion that has come home, and therefore they tend to. Are we there, my friends? But God says, when Sabbath day comes, please don't command orders to your children to do any work. They also want to be refreshed. Yes, you are gifted, you are blessed to have a maid or a male servant in your house to help you with your household chores. Are we there, my friends? But when Sabbath comes, you become equal with your servant. Many times, I'm not so sure this side, I have seen those that have been blessed with to have servants. When Sabbath comes, when the child cries in church, the housemaid stands from back there, comes and picks up the child and goes out to lullaby the child whilst the mother is seated. Let your maid rest also on the Sabbath. It's not their duty to lullaby your child. They too want that time with God. You are here on Sabbath worshiping God. And you actually have this pride to say, God is blessing me. I now have 50 cows at home. And whilst you are here on the Sabbath, your head boy is busy running after your cattle on the Sabbath. God says, when Sabbath comes, never mind that he might not believe in the Sabbath that you believe in. The fact that he is human being on the Sabbath is equal to you. Let him leave your cattle and rest with God. You see, he talks of cattle. I think, I want to believe, if this Bible was to be written in our day and age, are we there, my friends? Yeah, here we will be seeing a lot of things written here. Let your iron rest on the Sabbath. Let your stove rest on the Sabbath. Actually, you can replace this with stove. Because later on in Exodus 31, God actually says, do not light your fires. Are we still together, friends? So, God does not just want you to be refreshed. God does not just want you to enjoy. He wants even your dog. He wants even your cat to know today is Sabbath day. It must be evident in your home, to everything and everyone that is yours, that today is the Sabbath day. The dog must enjoy. It must look forward to the Sabbath because it has been blessed to be owned by an Adventist. Whilst you are busy preparing your rice, your patties, your chicken, your very best drinks, what are you doing for your dog that it also acknowledges that today is the Sabbath? Because if this cattle is yours, equally the same with the dog. Are we still together, my friends? So, reason number 4, it is a day that God has set aside for the purposes of strengthening our relationships and family ties. Imagine Friday evening. You are seated there with your family. Your phones is in the pocket or wherever. Your very expensive TV is switched off. You are focusing on your family. You are focusing on your child. My child, Sunday to Friday, the day is busy. But today, I want to give you time. What's been happening in your life? Are we there, my friends? What are your dreams? To tell me, what are your frustrations? So that the child knows, okay, during the week, Daddy might not have time to come watch me play sports at school. Not that he does not love me. He does love me, but my day will come when I can sit on Daddy's lap and be a child that I must be to him. It is this day, my friends, that can help us restore our broken relationships, household. Because remember, as we are getting to the rest of the Sabbath, we are not going to be resting on our own. We are resting alongside God. Are we there, my friends? And therefore, it can't, 1 minus 2. For me to go and rest with God on the Sabbath and really say, I have enjoyed the presence of God when I am not in talking terms with my wife, it can't. So, Sabbath has a way of solving our issues. Because it's a triangle that is bringing her close to God. It is bringing me close to God. It is bringing my child close to God. And therefore, as a unit, we are being unified in God. And we can only be unified in God as He breaks the bones and as He breaks all the misunderstandings and help us to be truly a unit of a family. You have got your family problems and you are trying all other resources and sources for solutions. You are only wasting your time and resources. Just remember and learn to come to God. And as you are resting with God, how are they, my friends? That's when you said to benefit the mending of your relationships. I remember as we were growing, you would go and just sit whilst others are playing. When you sacrifice time to go and sit where Gogo is seated, are we there, my friends? That's your grandma. Are we there, my friends? She'll be busy on that stone slab, etc., doing your peanut butter. You will not understand it, but yeah, peanut butter used to be done not on the machine, but on stone. Now, are we there, my friends? So as you sit there with Gogo and she's doing the peanut butter, and you are simply there just being a nuisance, asking questions, pertinent questions, and talking to Gogo, you are rest assured that before she finishes the production of this peanut butter for the family, you will get a spoonful. That one was a guarantee. The same with God. As you take time to sit with Him, you are guaranteed that in your family, you will get your fair share of a spoonful. Your boyfriend in FC in Florida, that other one, and you are here, FCPD, both in the presence of God, and you have not been talking throughout the week because there were issues. But as God is drawing you close to Him, and He is also drawing you closer to Himself, you will experience a refreshment in your relationship like you have never experienced before. It just needs us to find time with God. Actually, for those that have gone to consult professional counselors because they are having issues at home, you are simply praying to go before a certain woman or man, the two of you, husband and wife. What he's simply doing is he asks you questions and you are responding to the questions. Which things you can be doing actually at home without having to spend money. So he is simply saying, the two of you, you just need quality time together. And that quality time, friends, is in Christ. Are we still together, friends? Reason number 5. Ezekiel 20, verses 12 and 20. I also gave them my Sabbaths as a sign between us, so that they would know that I am the Lord who sanctifies them. Verse 20. Keep my Sabbaths holy, that they may be a sign between us, so that you may know that I am the Lord your God. Today, people think that if you wear the women's ministry's uniform, you are showing the world that you are a child of God. If you put on your beautiful Pathfinder uniform, if they see you on Sabbath coming to church holding a Bible, the sign that God is looking for is not people putting on uniforms. It's not the names that we call ourselves by. God is saying the only sign that He is looking for to show that you indeed know Him and that it is Him who saves you, it is by keeping the Sabbath. Many people think that because I do not have the correct uniform or the right uniform, I may not attend such and such a program. It's not about uniforms. It's not about what you are. All these other reasons. We have distinguished ourselves one from the other in this world by way of putting uniforms. And when you see them on Sunday going to church in their uniforms, they believe that the world then understands that I am a child of God. And that God is saying, you can put on any beautiful uniform that you care to put on. It's not the thing. It is keeping the Sabbath. I'm saying, friends, you can go and wash your boyfriend's dishes in his wherever rented cottage. It's not a sign that you are his wife. You can do his laundry. It's not a sign that you are his wife. Because a lot of people are capable and able to do the same functions. Are we there, my friends? The only sign that you are the wife or husband to that one is when you get married and you enter into that room. which you cannot enter with your sister. Actually, if you find a man approaching a woman who is putting on a ring, that man is dangerous. Because this woman is declaring, she's actually walking around with a message. Are we there, my friends? She has got a sign that the moment you see me put on this ring, I am already taken, I am someone's wife. Are we there, my friends? So if you have the courage to approach that person, you are asking for war from the man. Are we there, my friends? You have to deal with the man and the consequences thereafter. And therefore God is saying, if you abide and have this sign that you are mine, if the devil has the guts to come and bother you, he deals with it. Because he has encircled you with his signet, and this signet is the Sabbath. You can sing powerfully in a church choir, in whatever group choir. Everyone and every people can do it. That's why the musicians of this world are famous and popular. It only requires you to rest with God. Are we there, my friends? Last reason, number 6, Revelation 14, verse 7. And he said with a great voice, fear God and give him glory, for the hour of his judgment is come, and worship him that made the heaven and the earth and the sea and fountains of water. Are we still together, my friends? Now, the Sabbath is not just another day. Are we there, my friends? People have said the day of worship is neither here nor there. I can choose any day to worship. All God desires is that I have a day to worship him. But God is saying, fear God and give him glory, and worship him that made the heaven and the earth. Are we still together, my friends? So the only thing that identifies who created it is the Sabbath. In the Constitution of South Africa, made by humans who are sinful, maybe even after abusing their wives, they met in that council that came up with the Constitution. But you will find in that Constitution sections that say we should not be violent against our spouses. That was gender-based. They will tell you that do not kill. They will tell you do not steal, and yet they are stealing public funds. They will tell you do not do. Anyone and everyone can give us all these other laws, but no one has the right to say, remember the seventh day, because it is God who created. So as you rest on the Sabbath day, you are simply acknowledging the God who should be worshipped. You see, as you go through Revelation 14, there are 3 messages for the people of this generation God is trying to bring to us. Now, the first message from the first angel is identifying which God must be worshipped. Why? Because remember, when we started this campaign, we realized that in this world there are 2 gods who are vying for our attention: the devil and God. So, that God has his day of worship, which is the Sabbath. The devil also has his counterfeit day of worship, which is any other day of the week. And therefore, the first day is saying, before we talk about all these other urgent messages, you must identify which God you are worshiping. And the only way you identify that God is Ezekiel 20:12-20, that you will have this sign of the Sabbath is the identity which identifies the God that you are worshiping. And therefore, the other side of the coin is simply saying, worshiping God on any other day other than the Sabbath, you are also identifying that indeed you are a child of God's adversary. God is found on the Sabbath. The second one is exposing Babylon, and the third one is about the consequences of continued obedience. And therefore, you might be calling yourself part of the remnant, but if you are violating its principles, you are no different from those that are worshiping on the first day of the week. You are identifying with your father, the devil. It's not about how many years you have been an Adventist. It's about how you have obeyed. Because James 2 says that those who have violated in one principle of the 10, they have violated everything. You might come here on Sabbath from Sabbath school up to Vespers. But if you are violating the principles within those guidelines, you are as good as you have violated the actual Sabbath itself by not attending. Isaiah says, God is worried about your thoughts on the Sabbath. So you might be here on Sabbath, whilst literally you are heading and counting your cattle out there in KZN. You are not observing the Sabbath. You might be here, but you are trying to balance your accounts at work, which you left hanging. You are not observing the Sabbath. You might be here and excuse yourself that, you see, I have got health issues and therefore I need to have my tea in the morning. You might be here after having your very hot cup of coffee. You are violating the Sabbath. You are identifying with your God. John 12 verse 42 and 43, you see, there are other leaders who believed in the truth that Christ was teaching them. But because they feared what their current leaders who were leading them astray would think and say about them, because they felt they wanted to be to associate with these, they withheld themselves from obeying Christ, even though they knew that this, what he is saying, is the truth. And a lot of us today are in the same category. You know the truth, but some of you will not be here on Sabbath. Why? Because the boss has said everyone at work. And you fear what the boss will say. You look at your family. If you are fired, these guys will go hungry. And employment is hard to come by because of fear. Certain people did not obey the truth because of fear. That exam will come on the Sabbath. And you are desperate about that qualification because of fear. Matthew 16:26. For what does it profit a man if he gains the whole world but loses his life? Or what shall a man give in exchange for his life? Friends, you can gain everything. You can have the world in the palm of your hand. But if your relationship with God is not right, what profit is it to you? You have got beautiful children who are very brilliant at school. But if you personally, in your relationship with God, all is not well, you are not worshiping the God who created by observing his seventh-day Sabbath, what gain is it to you? You are rising up the corporate ladder at the expense of your relationship with God. What profit is it to you? You shall know the truth, and this truth shall set you free. Revelation 18:4-5. And I heard another voice from heaven saying, come out of her, my people, so that you do not take part in her sins, and that you do not receive of her plagues. For her sins have reached heaven, as far as heaven, and God has remembered her iniquities. God is saying to someone tonight, come out of Babylon. Babylon, simply confusion. Babylon, simply rebellion against God. Babylon, trying to earn salvation by works. You do not blackmail God by attending church on Sabbath, and yet you are not at heart an Adventist. As the chorister leads us in a hymn, I want to invite you tonight to give your life to God. I want to bring it to you tonight that you stand to benefit a lot by observing the seventh-day Sabbath. It is okay, I know you are very respectful of your parents. But if you are not respectful of God's creativeness, you might as well go and be rough with your parents because you have broken them all. Yes, she is leading us in a hymn, and there's our elders coming up front to pray for us. You want to give your life to God. If you hear His voice, harden not your heart. If there is a moment that you need to be selfish, there are moments like this where you have to decide things pertaining to your eternity. It's not about your parents. They have their issues with God. It's not about your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your spouse. It's about you. As the elder comes up front and you are saying, I surrender all, may you stand as He prays for us.